That scared the shit out of me. Alright, so now that we're actually going to have some motion going for us, figured we'd pop into this little story about everything I went through buying this motorcycle off of Facebook Marketplace. So, for starters, I have to give you a little bit of a backstory because it'll explain some of the juvenile ignorance that I possessed previous to purchasing this bike, which will make this story make a lot more sense. So, I'm going to openly come out and say it already. Yes, I'm a dumb, stupid kid. It's fine. I'm a dumb kid. It's cool. I'm learning. I'm figuring it out. So, the backstory begins in 2019, maybe early 2020. I was 19 years old, and I had been working at a local coffee shop where a ton of dudes would come to the shop every day on motorcycles. And I ended up befriending a couple of them, and I always knew that I wanted to ride bikes. And these dudes were super nice and cool, and they all rode something different. Like, we had one dude who was on, Gixxer 600. We had another dude who was on this old Yamaha Virago that he kind of did like a sporty bobber build with. It actually turned out really fucking cool. And then we had another dude who was on a Harley Dyna Fat Bob. So it was cool. I had like a couple of different bikes that I could choose from. So those dudes pushed me to get my MSF, and I did it, and I passed the course. And a couple of weeks later, I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, I think I can put aside enough cash to buy me a bike. I would love to do that. What's that process look like? How do I go about that? So, luckily for me, at the time, I ended up having an old family friend reach out to me, and they had that Yamaha V-Star up for sale. And it wasn't necessarily the bike I wanted, but it was at the right price. It was a clean, clear-cut $1,000. So I load all the buddies up into the car. We drive out to Levine, Arizona to pick up this motorcycle. And when I got there, I had, the family friend and a couple of other people that I was very familiar with and knew. And so this was a super easy buy. I was buying it from people who I already knew. I knew I could trust that the vehicle would be safe. I knew that I could, trust that they were going to get me on something that wasn't going to result in me, getting scammed or anything like that. So I dropped down a crisp $1,000 for the bike. And next thing I know, they pull out the title, and I'm told, hey, you initial here, sign here, write the mileage on the odometer here, such and such, and bing bang boom, here you go, you're good to go, congratulations, you bought a bike. So then I went to the DMV and I got the bike registered, and I got a new title sent to me in the mail like a few weeks later, and that was perfect. What I did not know at the time was that the family friend who had sold me the bike was also a licensed notary. This plays a huge factor. So remind you, I'm 19, this is my first time buying the bike. I went, everything was signed, sealed, delivered, and perfect for me. So about a year and a half later, I ended up moving out to Pittsburgh, and I unfortunately couldn't bring that V-Star with me, even though, I really, really wanted to. But it just wasn't going to happen. The V-Star wasn't going to come with. So I'm out in Pennsylvania. I'd been living here for about a year. Finally got comfortable enough, navigating the city streets in my vehicle. And so I, had a job that was paying me a little more money than it probably should have. And I had, $1,200 burning a hole in my pocket, and a fiance who was ready to get back on the back of a bike. So I started searching on Facebook Marketplace, and it was really only about a 3-day hunt to track this thing down. The listing price for it was $1,000. And I was like, all right, that's cool. It's a 650. It's the same size as my, the bike I had before. It's $1,000. It's the same that I paid for my bike before. I was like, cool, let's go check it out. So I started corresponding with the gentleman over Facebook Marketplace, and he's a super nice guy. We're chit-chatting back and forth, and he says, hey man, go ahead and come out and see the bike. I'll be home later today if you want to do it today. And, at the time I was 20. And, when you're 20 and you want to do something, you figure out how to do it as soon as possible. So I went and visited the fiance at work. I told her that I was going to go pick up this motorcycle. She was super down for the idea. He sends me the address, and it's super close to my house, right? I'm like, sweet, this is fucking awesome. I drive to the address, And this is where problem number one happens. He sent me the correct address, but he failed to let me know that he was in McKee's Sport and not McKee's Rocks. I, hadn't been living out here long enough to even know that there was a difference between the two, so I ended up in the hood of McKee's Sport. So I pull up and I'm like, hey man, I'm here, where are you at? What house am I looking for? And he texts me and he goes, I don't see you. Where are you? And I was like, dude, I'm right here. So I sent him a picture of the front of the building and he was like, yeah, man, I definitely don't live there. I have no idea where you are. And I was like, oh, cool. Send me the address again. So he sends me the address again, I pull it up, and now it's showing me that I'm 20 miles in the completely opposite direction. I was like, all right, cool. So I hop in my car, I tell him, hey man, it looks like it's going to take me about a half hour to get there. I'll see you soon. So I get in my car, I drive 20 miles to his actual house. I pull up, the garage door's open, he's got like some nice ass old sports car in there. He's got a couple of sport bikes, and sitting out on the driveway was this bike. And I was like, alright, sweet, he's ready to go, I'm ready to go. This is awesome. And from everything that I gathered, he's a pretty trustworthy guy. When I showed up, he was wearing scrubs, found out that he worked at the hospital. It was super cool. So I hop on the bike, I ride it around a little bit, and I decide, I'm like, you know what, man, it runs cool, it rides good. I was like, let's do it, I want this bike. So we start to haggle, and I pointed out a couple of issues with it, issues that I still haven't fixed, i.e. front tire. And I was like, hey man, is there any way you do $800 for it? And he was like, honestly man, it's a paperweight. I bought it for my girlfriend, and she doesn't want to ride it. And the guy I bought it from before bought it for his wife, and then she divorced him. And he's like, this thing is a fucking paperweight. Take it off my hands. $800 sounds good. I was like, all right, cool, man. So I hand him the cash, and he hands me the title. So I'm looking at the title, and, obviously it looks a little bit different because I'm in Pennsylvania now instead of Arizona. But I did exactly what my family friend did with me. I had him sign here, me sign there. I wrote down the mileage on the title, and bada bing, bada boom, I thought everything was good. So I leave that night, and I go back home. I pick up my fiance in the car, and we both drive back out, and I hop on the bike, and I take it home. So, of course, I'm fucking ecstatic. And the very next day, I happened to have the day off work, so I decided it'd be a good idea to go to the DMV and get this thing registered. I wanted it to be legal. So I show up at the DMV, or I think out here they call it the MVD. I don't really care, it doesn't really matter. And I walk in with the title to the bike, and I, show it to the lady, and I'm like, hey, I just bought this bike, I would love to get it registered. And she looks at me and goes, where did you get this bike? I said, oh, I bought it off of a guy on Facebook Marketplace. And she was like, well, that's really interesting. Did the title come to you like this? And I was like, no, the title was blank, but me and him filled it out. And she was like, why on earth did you do that? And I told her, I was like, well, I just figured, that's how I did it when I bought my bike in Arizona. So I just filled it out, and I figured I would bring it here and everything would be good to go. Oh boy, was I wrong. So I found out that the title did indeed need to be notarized. I didn't even know what a notary was. I didn't know where to start with that. I didn't know what to do. So I hop on Facebook Messenger and I message the guy back, and I'm like, hey dude, I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot, and apparently I need this title to be notarized before I can legally put the bike in my name. And he says, he gets back to me pretty quickly. And he goes, man, I thought something was a little funny, but I just kind of trusted you. I didn't know if you knew something that I didn't. And I was like, no, man, I had no idea. He's like, you know what, man, it's no big deal. He's like, I'm more than happy, to come with you and get this thing notarized. It's like, sweet. So I find a notary that is super close to his house. And it's literally like if I could stand in his front yard and throw a rock, I could hit the notary office. Like, we are talking that close. And I texted him, I said, hey man, how's Monday work? Would you mind meeting me here and we can get this all squared away and ready to go? Little Ducati, that thing's cool. And he, he goes, hey, yeah man, Monday's great. I'll see you there. I was like, sweet. So I show up to the notary office on Monday, like an hour before they closed. 30 minutes goes by, he still hasn't shown. 45 minutes goes by, I'm starting to get nervous, and so, I'm calling him, I'm texting him, no answer. So finally I chalk it up as a loss for the day and decide that, you know what, I should just go home. Maybe he got busy, maybe he got stuck at work, I don't know. 2 days goes by and he finally texts me back and he says, hey man, I'm so sorry, I got hemmed up at work. Can we reschedule for this following Monday? And I was like, yeah man, that sounds great. Monday comes around, I show up at the DMV office at the notary office, first thing in the morning, right when they open. I was the first customer there. He told me he was going to meet me there at the same time. And then 30 minutes goes by, and then 45 minutes goes by, and finally I strike up a conversation with the lady at the counter, and she asks me what I'm there for, and I tell her, oh, I bought this motorcycle, and I didn't know I had to get the title notarized, and I'm really just waiting for the guy who sold it to me to come back and get it notarized. So, after an hour, I shoot him a text message, and I'm like, hey man, I'm so sorry, like, I'm here, just wanted to know if you had an ETA, and I was like, look man, like, to make it worth it, I'll give you an extra $50, or I'll take you out for a beer or something, right? Just like, I'm sorry, this is my fault, dude, like, let's make this right. And, no text. So I'm like, alright, well, shit. So I go back into the notary office, and I tell the lady, I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I filled out this title. This is what it looks like. I was like, is there any way that, like, you can just notarize it for me just so I can get this thing legal and prove that I own this motorcycle and it's not stolen? And she looks at me dead in the face and says, that's illegal. And you're right, it is illegal. So the next thing I did was start reaching out to everybody that I knew who potentially might be a notary. I found 4 people, and all 4 of them told me absolutely not, they will not do that for me. It's fine, I get it, why drag somebody else into my shit? So at this point, 2 weeks has gone by, and I'm pretty convinced that I'm never going to get this bike to be legal. So finally, one day I'm at work and I'm talking to my coworker about this, and she was an older woman and her husband rode, and she's bought many a motorcycle before, so she kind of knew what was going on. And I was like, hey, can I potentially use your phone and call this guy? Because at this point, I have a 623 phone number. It's super easy to recognize when it pops up. He knows it's me calling him. So I get on the phone I get on my coworker's phone and I dial his number. Mind you, I'd been texting and calling him for like 3 or 4 days prior to this. He answers the phone on the first ring. And I go, hey man, so sorry to catch you. I had to call you on my work phone. I've been running around like crazy. Lying, obviously, but what am I going to do? And he's like, oh, hey man, how are you? And I was like, look dude, like I'm more than happy to give you $200 to just go to the notary office and sign the damn paper. And he's like, man, no, it's fine. Like, keep the money. I don't need it. He's like, man, like, I'll make sure it gets done today. So I hop on the phone with the notary office and I tell her, I'm like, hey, he said that he would come by and get it done today. I'm stuck at work. I was like, do you need both of us to be there to do this? And she was like, technically, I do. But since I've already seen you and talked to you and know the story, if just he shows up, I will notarize this for you. And I was like, oh my God, you are a saving grace. Thank you so much. And I told her, I'm like, this dude's been dodging my phones, dodging my texts. I can't get a hold of him. Will you please call me and let me know if he actually shows up? Hour goes by, 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by. Finally, it's like 20 minutes before this place closes, and I get the phone call. And I answer it, and I'm like, please, notary lady, tell me you got good news for me. And she said, I have great news for you. He came in, title's notarized, everything's good to go. Come on down whenever you can and pick it up. And I was like, sweet. So then I get, the next day, I drove out there and I picked up the license plate. I didn't know that's how it worked. You can just take it to like a notary place around here and they'll give you a license plate. I had no idea. So out the door, notary paid, license, registration, everything good to go. And but genuinely, during the time of me having difficulties corresponding with this gentleman, I really thought that he was just gonna leave me with this bike, and I didn't know, what if he was hurting for money one day and decided to like report it stolen, and now I'm riding around on an unregistered stolen vehicle. And the only bad thing about all of this was during the time of me getting the title notarized, I had been riding the bike just here and there, keeping it close in the neighborhood. So now my title shows that my odometer reading is not accurate. And in all honesty, I'm not really worried about that, and I honestly don't even believe that it's accurate in the first place, because how does a bike from 2002 have only, at the time that I bought it, like 1,200 miles on it? Like, you're lying to me. There's no way. So anyways, I really just wanted to throw this out there because it's kind of a funny story, and I can't believe that in my own juvenile, youthful ignorance, I thought that you could just go buy a motorcycle. So if you're looking into getting a bike, make sure you read the laws and the legislation around titling a bike and getting it registered and getting it licensed, because it's going to save you a lot of heartache in the long run. And after talking about all this, it just reminds me of some trying times. I think I need to pop on in here and get myself a cold one. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any crazy stories about purchasing motorcycles and it going wrong, especially if they're Facebook Marketplace encounters, leave it down in the comments down below. I'd love to read it. If you enjoyed watching today, go ahead and leave me a subscribe, give me a like. It helps boost my already massive ego, and there's nothing I love more than people stroking it. I'm just fucking around with you. But as always, guys, I'm Susie Sue. It's been great riding and chatting with y'all today, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.